Well, guys, the Vikings did it. Although the Browns' defense did look very good still, the Vikings did just enough to get the win, which a win is a win in the NFL. It doesn't matter what team you're going against. You can just always appreciate a win. All right, so starting out with my concerns from the last video I posted about the NFL was just the Cleveland Browns defense and Myles Garrett in general. And when Myles Garrett was lined up against Darrisaw, he only had 2 QB pressures, which is like 5% of something for like however many times they went against each other. So very good. That was the lowest of his season. And that stat was from Vikings fan page. So as a team, they only give up 3 sacks, which is very good because last week they gave up 6. And I figured they were going to have a lot more sacks because the Browns defense was better than the Steelers defense, obviously, so I was very happy to see that they only gave up 3. And then probably last thing about Myles Garrett, he only had 3 tackles, no tackles for losses, and no sacks. So obviously held him in check pretty well for however well you can, because obviously he's one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in the NFL. All right, last thing I'm going to talk about with the Browns is David Njoku was crazy today. I forgot who exactly he hurdled, but he hurdled somebody super easily, and I looked it up. He is 6'4", 246 pounds, so to be hurdling somebody like that was pretty crazy to see. So I didn't know he had that in him, and then obviously he had a lot of good catches, and I believe he had a touchdown. So I just looked it up. He had 6 catches for 67 yards, and he had obviously a touchdown. So, and with those 6 catches, he had 9 targets, so that was a season high for him as well. All right, now on to the Vikings. Obviously, first thing everyone saw is what they didn't see, Jordan Addison. So obviously Jordan Addison was not playing the first quarter. It's kind of a coach's decision, they said. Later found out that he had missed a walkthrough. This part I don't know if it's 100% true, but he might have been walking around London just doing like tour stuff, and obviously if you miss something like with your job, you're going to get kind of like punished for it. So this is what his punishment was, so hopefully he learns from it and doesn't happen again, I guess. And I think we can all agree Justin Jefferson is still the best in the league. I don't think he ever lost that title. Obviously, with shaky quarterback play, it's a little different. Like, first 4 weeks of the season, Nakua's probably stat-wise been the best, but just pure ability, I think, is still obviously Justin Jefferson. Since when you look at the last 4 or 5 seasons, it's always been common denominator, Jefferson versus somebody. Whether that was Cooper Kupp, Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, now Puka Nacua, it's always somebody against Jefferson, so I feel like that's a good argument for why he's still the best. And I would say Wentz did a pretty good job getting the ball out quickly. He had started the game with a few short passes, and that kind of opened up the downfield stuff a little bit, so it was good to see. He also did move around quite a bit, and he had, I think, 3 rushes for like 12, 13 yards, but he had that one where he kind of got his left shoulder, I believe, kind of tweaked or whatever, so we probably told him stop running. Just if you're out of the pocket, just slide. So didn't really see any more rushing from him in the second half, but he still looked pretty good in my opinion. Yeah, like I said earlier, obviously Darrisaw, whenever he was going against Garrett, was very solid. 2 pressures only from Garrett when they were facing each other. And then towards the end of the game, we saw Darrisaw was out of the game with no helmet on, which kind of scared me a little bit, but we did learn that was just like a snap count related thing, just coming back from a torn ACL, so it was good to hear that. All right, so a bad thing about the Vikings today obviously was the ball security. They lost 2 fumbles, which when they don't cause any turnovers, that's obviously not very good, giving your opponents 2 extra possessions, but luckily defense held up and didn't really allow that to affect them, so it was good to see. Also, that wildcat by Cam Akers was pretty sick. I didn't expect him to throw it. I thought it was just going to be a rush, but he did say if we needed a emergency quarterback, he was going to fill it, and so that would have been cool to see. Obviously, don't want to see anyone get injured, but would have been interesting. All right, last thing about this game, the Will Reichard Skycam wiring conspiracy theory. I thought when he first kicked it that he kind of was just rushing it because it looked like somebody was coming around the left side to block it, but turns out it looked like it had hit a camera wire. I don't know if that's specifically because it was an overseas game and it's not like a permanent site, and it was interesting to see after the game just to see that footage, and kind of explains why it was completely wide right, which is very unlike him with how accurate he is. All right, so the Vikings are going into a very much needed bye after spending 2 weeks overseas, but just kind of pray for health and get everyone healthy coming back. I don't know if JJ's coming back. It will be interesting to see because I feel like Wentz did play good, but having the ability to have somebody be super mobile in the pocket, be able to create plays for himself would be very nice in this offense. So obviously JJ's a bit more athletic than Carson, but we'll just have to see what they decide, and obviously you don't want to rush him back against a team like Philly who's very physical, so we'll see what they decide to do. All right, like I said, Philly after the bye finally at home against Philly. It feels like every single time they play the Eagles, it's always in Philadelphia. So finally got one at US Bank. So hopefully that home field advantage works very well and they can take home the dub against them.